Matter of fact, if you look in Matthew 23 and elsewhere, you will find that Jesus Christ, when he was confronted with false religious leaders, scorched them in public. And with the crowd roaring behind them, got them so angry, they tried to assassinate him, and then finally they pulled it off and killed him. You have to ask yourself this question. If Jesus Christ was the Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, and this little meek and mild, God bless you, everyone, sort of that type of, who would bother to crucify that? Whatever Jesus you believe in has to be the kind of Jesus who got people so angry, they crucified him. You see, we have a wrong view of Jesus. We have this effeminate hairdresser from San Francisco, white, pale, limp-wristed, flying around the room, and he wants romantic love from you. He wants you to sing, I love you, let me sit in your lap, tickle my ear, Jesus, that sort of thing. No, we're not interested in that. We're interested in the Jesus of the Bible. We're interested in full-blooded, masculine Christianity, what Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones called muscular Christianity. See, when you're confronted in an age in which Christianity has been reduced to sentimentality for women and children, and remember, this is why men have left the church. Go to a mainline. Any of you came out of a mainline church, Methodist or something, were the men gone? They were gone. When did that happen? Well, you'll find it in my book, Fearing God. I document it. When the Transcendental movement feminized God and got rid of all the hard attributes. God was no longer, holy, just. I mean, you didn't play around with Jehovah. And the hymns, they were, great and marvelous. I mean, they're all about judgment and the king. Well, there was a change in the latter part of the 19th century when Christianity was feminized, God was feminized, Jesus was feminized, the hymns were feminized. And the more feminized Christianity became, the more uncomfortable real men felt. If you were a real Christian, you couldn't be a policeman. If you were a real Christian, you couldn't be in the military. If you're really a spiritual Christian, you would never box. You would never do martial arts. You would certainly never go hunting and killing, bam, bam. You're eating, bam, bam. And so the idea of being a Christian and going into the manly arts and fishing and hunting and that was frowned upon. If you're a Christian, you just have to be sweet and nice, meet with the women, and read poetry. That's why the men left. You get what you preach. Never forget that. I pastored a church for 20 years. The majority of the people attending were men. We had more single men than we had single ladies. We had superb athletes as a church, went rock climbing, skiing, whitewater rafting. This was a church, man. When we did our retreats, we had fun, man. Now, people would come and say, how come all these men? And they sang. The men were, it's fantastic. You get what you preach. Now, in the discussion that ensued on the radio after the debate with the president of the Unification Church, the moderator said, Dr. Bob, would you please preach a message on the divine use of humor, ridicule, and mockery in the Bible, because people today do not understand that if you're going to follow in the footsteps of the prophets, the apostles, and the Lord Jesus Christ and God the Father, you're not going to be a wimp. They think, because of political correctness, if you stand up for Jesus, you're the one in sin. If you mock unbelief, you are in sin. That we're not to judge others, you see. Well, see, that's the political correctness, which is the heresy of the age. Now, the Apostle Paul warned us In Romans 12 and verse 1, do not allow the world to squeeze you into its own mold. What we call in German the Sitzenleben. The spirit of the age. The culture can squeeze us to make us like everyone else. And it's hard to go against it. It's hard to break free from this cultural pressure. I mean, you'll get it in the television. Everywhere you turn, you will be told that as a Christian, shut up! You know, now and then if you have the misfortune to listen to one of the talk shows on television, they can be talking about lesbian marriages and gay guys having babies. And if there is a Christian in the audience who says this is morally wrong, they turn on that Christian like a pack of wild wolves. So most Christians put their tail between their legs and what? Well, I am so... See, this is the world. He says, don't allow the world to do that. Instead, we need to be transformed by the renewing of our minds, by allowing the Scriptures to equip us for every good work. You say, well, you're trying to say that the use of humor is a good work? I will prove that it is indeed the work of God and of Christ and the apostles. It is one of the devices of Satan to tell Christians that they must be politically correct. Wimps, cowards, keep their mouths shut, don't stand up for Jesus, and the favorite, don't rock the boat and don't make any what? Waves. Peace at any price, you say. Like Chamberlain, you say. This heresy teaches that we should never judge the doctrines or lifestyles of others. Any Christian who boldly stands up for Jesus and the gospel today is condemned. Not on the basis of the issue of whether or not what the person is saying is true, like this guy who called. He said, well, it may be true that this man denies the Trinity, but it was unkind of you to point it out. You see, the ad hominem is to attack your character instead of dealing with your assertion. So you can say, Reverend Moon says that Jesus Christ was a failure. He was impotent, and he was possessed by Satan on the cross. And this is taught in the Divine Principle, and I have the book on my lap. The answer is, you're unkind and unloving. Are they dealing with the issue of the truth of what you said? No. No. See, people think that you have to choose between telling the truth or speaking in love. The Apostle Paul said, speak the truth in what? If you speak the truth, do it out of a motive to help the person out of unbelief into belief. You love the truth. You love Jesus. I'm speaking the truth because I love the Lord and I love God's people, and I don't want people going to this meeting and they were going to have communion. 1 Corinthians 10 says, I will not have you at the table of demons drinking the cup of the... How can you be a Christian and have communion with Reverend Moon, who claims that he is Jesus returned? It's forbidden in Scripture, you see. No doubt you have felt the sting of being told, as you witness to people and you tell them they're sinners, that you're unkind, unloving, and judgmental. Of course, when someone condemns you for condemning others, they are hypocrites because they just condemned you. I love to get on secular talk shows. You know, and they say, well, you have no right to condemn others. I said, then don't condemn me. Well, don't cram your religion down my throat. Well, why are you cramming your religion down my throat? Well, everyone has the right. Then I have a right. Well, everyone has the right to believe whatever they want as long as they're happy. Well, I'm very happy to tell you, you're on your way to hell and you need Jesus. Well, but Every time you open your mouth, you're slitting your throat. If you believe you should not judge other people, shut up and sit down. Don't judge me. If you believe that everyone has the right to believe as long as they're sincere, I am sincere in my religion. You are going to hell and you need Jesus. Well, see, it always ends up your sincerity doesn't count. Your happiness doesn't count. See, the moment says, I judge you for judging others in the name that it's wrong to judge others, they've just taken the razor, slit their own throat. They're hypocrites. If they really believe it is wrong to judge others, why are they judging you? One recent attack on biblical Christianity, and by the way, the atheists have picked up on this. They are now criticizing Jesus for being rude, politically incorrect, and offensive. I debated an atheist. He says, well, Jesus wasn't such hot stuff. I mean, he went around getting people so angry, calling them hypocrites, blind guides of the blind, sepulchres rotten inside, and he got people so angry they murdered him. So this Jesus wasn't good and kind. See, they've picked on the cultural Jesus, you know, who flopped along in little flip-flops and was just sweet and didn't do anything, you see. And see, they think that's the Jesus. So they can go to the New Testament and find the real Jesus, and it would shock the average Christian. Well, some people think that it's wrong to ridicule, mock, or scorn false religions and false prophets. Indeed, the only heresy that political correctness allows today is the heresy of calling anything heresy. The only heretics are those who are bold enough to call anything heresy. Political correctness teaches that it is the supreme evil to offend people by hurting their feelings. You hurt their feelings. Feelings. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you ever look in the Bible for the word feelings? Did you ever look up the word sensitive? Matter of fact, if you go to a major dictionary and look up sensitivity, it's viewed as a psychological illness. Right, sensitivity means you are looking for the approval of other people, and your self-image depends on what other people think or speak about you. You are incapable of your own self-image. You are dependent upon others. So being super sensitive is a psychological ill. Look it up, Webster's. Look it up. It's not something good, you see. If you hurt their feelings. Thus, if you say anything that hurts the feelings of a false prophet, you're saying, I'm not Christ. That's right.
That's right.
Remember the guy who called the program who claimed to be Moses? And you're listening that particular, oh yeah, he said he was Moses. I said, oh, you're married to a black woman. He said, I'm married to a black woman. I said, well, Moses was married to a black woman. I said, well, and I tried to speak in Hebrew. This Moses didn't know Hebrew. So I said, well, the Moses I know was married to a black woman, could speak Hebrew, so you ain't Moses. I said, you're going to be taken to a padded room where there's a lot of other Moseses, Jesuses, Paul. Now, you see, you'd have some Christian call, oh, you hurt his feeling because you told him he was nuts. He was. And if you remember, a couple of weeks later, this guy called and I finally said, look, are you on medication? And what did he say? Yes.